All right, staff and students, Dr. Donadio here, and what I'm going to be going over with you is a brief overview of test item analysis or point by serial. Now, just so you know, this essay that I'm using as the basis for what I'm using is not my original work. It was produced by Patrick Davis, the Associate Dean of University of Texas, I believe, and it might have actually come from, the School of Education, it looks like. This is Erin Reile's work. I'm just going to go over it, and no, I'm not going to read it to you. This handout is available to you in the file section of this Canvas course. All right, so what we're going to be looking at first is this question right here. This particular question is one question on an exam. This exam had 138 students that took it. So your software is going to break your class down into quadriles or quintiles. So the top, it's going to break it into 4 groups or 5 groups depending on your software. This particular software broke it into 4 groups. You had the 35 students who did the best on the exam overall, okay? Then you had your next 34 students, so 1 to 35, then 36 to whatever. Then your next 34 students, then your bottom 35. That equals 138 students. On this particular question, of those 138 students, 116 got the question correct. So that gives you a p-value of 0.84. So 84% of the class got this question right. That's all that means. No magic there. The R value is where your computations come into play. And no, you will not be doing this by hand. The software is going to break out the students by group, top 25%, next 25, next 25, and bottom 25. And then it is going to evaluate how the bottom group did to the top group and the middle group and so on. If you look at this particular question, the people who did the best on the exam got the question right, all 35 of them. The second best group, 31 of them got it right. When you come down here to the third 25%, only 29 got it right. And the bottom group, only 21 got it right of the 35. This computation is going to evaluate those groups to tell you whether or not the question is discerning between those who did well in the exam and those who did not. This one has a p-value of 0.84, 84% of the class got it right, and an R value, that's the one that's really important, that's important here, of 0.47. This is an excellent question. Most of the class did very well on it, but are also discerned between those who did well in the exam and those who did not. Now, I'm going to scroll down to a question that is a potential problem. And I say potential because it doesn't mean it's a problem. By the way, your R value, what we're looking for as far as your R value varies from source to source. Some people say 0.2 and above. Some individuals say 0.3 and above. We generally shoot for 0.3 at Cumberland University. A R value of 0 means that everybody got it right. That means that it's one of those questions that out of 100 people, 100 people got it right. Now that might be okay. There might be some questions out there that you expect every student to get correct. Something like maybe a math question. It's not uncommon for the entire class to get a math question correct, or something from foundations that the best way to avoid the spread of infection in the hospital is hand washing. That's something you expect everybody in the class to get. So that might happen from time to time. So keep that in mind. Scrolling down to a question that they list as a potential problem is this one here. You're looking at the breakout, 138 students, all right? Answer was D, and it had a p-value of 0.44. So in other words, only 44% of the class got it right. But when you're looking at that, in the group that did the best on the exam, a large chunk of them got it right. In the group that did the worst on the exam, a large chunk of them got it wrong. This question is discerning. It cut a swath between those who knew the information and those who did not. It is a difficult question, but it is a fair question. I personally might not use this on a final exam, I might reserve this to a chapter exam when you're in the weeds. So that is just some information. When you're looking at p-values and evaluating your r-values, if you had a p-value that's low, lower than 70%, or maybe lower than that, and your r-value is 0.2 or less, you may just have a bad question that you need to evaluate your selections for your answers, or maybe evaluate the wording. It doesn't mean that you need to throw out the question. It means you just need to evaluate how the question is being asked, or if there's an answer that might be a little too close or might actually be correct as well. So I hope that's helpful. And as I said, I try to keep this brief. Thank you.